Rajesh, do you have any vegetables growing in your yard?
Yep. Got tomatoes that's about that size now. And yeah, the salad season is over.
Yeah, all my lettuce is bolting.
Right. And let's see, what else do I have? Bell peppers, eggplants, corn,
Wow.
green beans. And I'll be replanting arugula again, so we'll see. Raspberries are growing crazy, so.
We have berries. We just don't get enough sun, I think, for most vegetables. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I've got about good 4 hours of good sunshine on my vegetable patch. You've seen in my yard, so it's pretty much shaded except that one little patch.
Well, all right, if you guys are ready, we can go ahead and just start. Even though we're a little late right now, don't have quorum yet. So we'll skip the official roll call and stuff until we do have quorum. So I'll just jump right into a few things. One thing I forgot to mention in April, which is pretty big, is the roll off of a lot of our members who are up for either reappointment or to step down. Two of you are here, Raj and Leah, and then the others are Stephanie, Kira, and Lee. And I will go ahead and just say, since I have heard from a couple of them that they do not want to seek reappointment and they are not here. So both Stephanie and Kira have decided to step down. And so we are now going to be seeking appointments for their respective seats. Stephanie was filling one of the university seats, and then Kira is filling the Northeast Ward seat. And so those plus the already vacant university seat and the chair position are what we're trying to fill now. So that's the latest update. And we're still trying to see, the wheels are already in motion to fill some of these seats. So I think it might be a quicker turnaround this time to get them all maybe done at one time is what I'm hoping. So there shouldn't be a significant gap in time where we just don't have members, but yeah, so I apologize for not mentioning that last time because those terms did end in May. Of course, members can still come to and attend meetings sort of until an official reappointment is made or something like that. So I'm glad you both, Leah and Raj, could join us this month, and we'll continue to be able to do so. And then just some of the other sustainability updates. So one thing I wanted to mention on behalf of our Bee City USA liaison, I realize it's been, I think, a while since I've given an update around what they're working on. But our Bee City USA liaison and our food resilience program manager are teaming up to do a lot of stuff now. So now that there's a couple of folks working on that, there's definitely been some exciting developments. And one thing that they are working on is a small pilot program where they have identified some city flower beds that are a part of the Keep Winston-Salem Beautiful flower bed program, and have identified some of those beds to test out natural weed killer rather than using Roundup, and just seeing, you know, what kind of labor difference that might make, cost differences. Like I said, just a pilot program to see, you know, what it would look like maybe on a larger scale, and just get a better idea of, you know, the feasibility of doing that in more areas. So that's very exciting. They're monitoring that from week to week. And I'll keep you guys updated. And I'm sure that they will have either a report that sort of summarizes the results or something like that once they're done with that pilot. They're doing it through most of the summer, so they're still sort of in the beginning stages of that. But yes, I again have been sort of forgetting to mention that in some of our updates. So the good news is it does look like we have quorum now, so we can go ahead and start with the roll call. So again, just state your name as attendance.
Rajesh Kapileshwari.
Leah Lavin,
Christy Robinson,
Jordan Brewster,
Lee Stackhouse.
And it looks like Amber is still connecting, but once she's able to, we'll have her as well introduce herself. And so the first thing, and really one of the only things we have on our agenda today, is to accept and pass the April minutes. So has everybody had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes.
All right. Does anybody motion to pass those minutes?
I'll move to pass the minutes.
a second.
All right. And then does anybody, I'll go ahead and call name and just say yay or nay to pass. Christy?
yay.
Lee?
Yay.
Jordan?
yay.
And again, it does look like Amber is still having trouble, so we'll call on her for that as well. So, all right, that does still pass the minutes though. So I'll go ahead and jump into some of the updates. We have a couple to get through today, and I'll go ahead and start with the resolution update, since that was kind of just a unexpected situation that we ran into last month. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that process and where we are now and what's going to happen. So after that resolution was passed by the General Government Committee back, I believe on May 10th, it went to the May 16th City Council meeting, and Councilmember Clark did decide to do a no consideration on that. So essentially he just pulled that item, preventing it from being voted on at that meeting. And so all that's done is now move that same item, the exact same way it was written up, to the June 6th City Council meeting. So that will be next week. That they vote on that, and it will be voted on because no consideration can only be done once for an item. So we will have a decision made at that time after that meeting. So yeah, like I said, not a very common situation. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of what happened, since it's been delayed a little bit longer than we expected it to. So if there are any questions about that process, or what'll happen next or anything like that, feel free to ask.
Why did he do that? What's the point of doing that?
I'm really not sure. I've not honestly ever really seen that happen in person, or at least been aware of it. So, it could just be, he did have some stronger comments that he made at that meeting that showed his hesitation around it. But, doing that versus voting no, I'm really not sure. There may have been some point in his mind. I just wasn't clear at the time, but anyway, maybe he just wanted more time to consider what that resolution ultimately was saying, or what the federal act was saying. Not really sure, but yeah. Okay, if there are no other questions about that, I'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which was the lead for city certification. This was actually something that we were awarded after the April meeting, but early enough in April that we were able to go ahead and get it on the city council agenda for that May 16th meeting. So we were at least able to highlight that effort and present that certification. We did get a silver certification, so that was 56 points out of 110 total possible points. It covered various goal areas. So those areas are energy, water, materials and resources, which is what is essentially that's waste. Then there's a transportation section, transportation and land use, and then quality of life. Those are the main ones. There are also, there's an innovation section that is meant to capture any kind of credit or work that we feel like we're doing that's not been captured in the other goal areas. There's the regional priority. And then additionally, there's the natural systems and ecology. And then the integrative process, which is more about our internal processes and things like that as a city organization. But I'm happy to break that down or to go into any more detail if you guys want me to. There was a video released actually just a few hours ago on our city's YouTube page that our marketing team put together about it. And there's a little bit of information available on our website too that shows the point breakdown there between like how many points we got in each section. Yeah, I do want to highlight that we got all available points for the regional priority credits. We got 5 out of 6 for innovation. So we did very well in those areas. Additionally, we scored well in our water efficiency. So that's a lot of the work that our utilities team has done. And then we did well also in our quality of life and natural systems and ecology. Those were all the areas where we scored more than 50%. So we did very well in those. But yeah, so if there are any questions about that now too, I'm happy to answer anything about that. Raj, you're on mute. Let me see if I can unmute you.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I had too many screens open. I was just going to say that I'd like to see the points breakdown. So is it on the sustainability website of the cities?
Yeah.
The video and the points? Okay.
Yeah, it's under the sustainability initiatives page.
Perfect.
Specifically.
And the reason would be a couple things. One, to congratulate the city where we did well, and then see where we have potential for improvements, which might be the energy and transportation sectors. So yeah, that is wonderful news that the certified, then I guess the silver, and then we have gold and platinum above us, but silver is pretty decent. So that's great. Good news.
Yeah, I also like to let people know we did score 1 more point than Greensboro. Some folks get a kick out of that, so I will take it for sure. But yeah, and then I'll also add too, so that recertification won't happen for another 5 years. So it's a nice long time we get to make progress and work on stuff. And I'll say too that because this is still a somewhat new program for USGBC, they're definitely still looking at these credits and identifying ways to improve them and make them more applicable. So I expect the framework might change a little bit as well. So yeah, I'm hoping that this is something the city will keep in mind, and we will do that recertification, and hopefully we'll do even better in that next 5 years. So
right, targets will definitely move. to become harder. But yeah, that's the game, right? So we got to do better too. So wonderful.
Yeah, well, that's actually all the updates I have for you guys. So we can move on to any business that anybody might have that they want to talk about related to the committee or any of the subcommittees or anything like that. So I'll just open that floor up for you guys.
So I was going to quick update. We had a roundtable organized by PEA last week, and we were very happy to see 4 council members there, Scipio, Adams, Larson, and Clark. And there was a very robust conversation about what city is doing and what city can do. And I was approached by several of them. And what I got was that we need to shake it up. Those are the words that stuck in my head. And you can imagine who said those words exactly. And to be aggressive and to be bold and to present a vision to the city. The other things I heard was that we need to start organizing public engagement in the form of town halls. And one of the council members said, we can let you have the Benson Center and TV cameras, organize town halls, and get input from the people. And so from engagement point of view, I know, Helen, you've done lots of surveys. We haven't seen the results, or I haven't seen the results of the surveys, but also the town halls and the focus groups might be the next steps for the engagement. And what I heard was that the council members want to see a vision, a plan, a bold, aggressive plan on their desk for consideration. And then we also heard that they would like to see more of the public get to this council chambers and talk about what's important to them. So I don't know what format it'll take or when or how, but the public comment period, they said whenever something is up for signing, the words were used, pack the chambers. So that was kind of new to me that those were the words used. And the other 2 council members that I have previously talked to, McIntosh and Kevin Monday, they have also indicated that they are looking forward to a bold roadmap. So that is kind of interesting to hear what the council members have to say. And they also do want to hear from the public. So to generate this vision plan, implementation plan, even prioritizations of impacts and all that. So that's what I came out of that meeting. And then what I presented to them was, as Mayor Pro Tem, I presented to D.D. Adams, is that, yeah, the city is responsible only for 2 or 3% of the carbon footprint, that perhaps they need to engage with the big users or polluters or whoever you want to, however you want to describe them, and get this partnership going where we get promises from them and get people to actually do better on their end. Might be hospitals, might be factories, might be school districts. So that was in a very, very brief nutshell what I came out with. And
Fertilizer plants.
Pardon?
Fertilizer plants.
Yeah, fertilizer plants. Yeah, and that is a whole different beast altogether. And
that's a building code beast right there. Is what
yeah,
that is.
yeah. But it was quite intense. I wasn't prepared to hear that.
Well, I mean, I think here's my just gut reaction to that, Rajesh, is it's a big ball of wax. Environmental sustainability is a huge ball of wax. City operations is a big ball of wax. So to just say give us a bold plan, it's all right, we're here to push environmental sustainability however they want us to push it. We need from them information about where do they want us to push it? What what is it? Like, what's being built? Like, what are the laws under consideration? I don't know. Like, Christy can turn people out. Like, we can
Oh, yeah,
turn people
definitely.
out.
Right.
It just, it's too broad, you know.
Yeah, were specific action items discussed, or were specific action items presented either from the PEA side or from
No, this was a very, you know, this was more about connecting people. And, you know, there were people from the food side, there were people from the banks. So there were all kinds of people there.
So could there be? I heard that there was likely going to be more of these roundtables that
Yes.
PEA was putting together. So could that not be the direction of some of these? I mean, two birds with one stone, they want public engagement. PEA is halfway there.
Right,
If we just make that a public engagement session of the folks who are at least there, that's a good place to start,
Right.
maybe. And
No, I
then when we
definitely
put
agree.
together a plan, it speaks to what the public also wants to see.
Right, and that's how I saw it. There were more than 50 or 60 people, and
wonderful.
you get the, you know, ideas from these 60 people focus group, if you want to call it. That is what the public is saying. And of course, not everybody was a tree hugger there, of course, you know, like.
Well, you do want more perspective than just the tree hugger perspective to put together an effective plan.
Yes, and it seemed like there was that. There were business people, there were, like I said, bankers, and maybe that could be a starting point. And I know PEA has been, every month or every 2 months, they assemble a bunch of a coalition of different groups that come together and are trying to formulate a prioritization kind of thing for the city or for our area. And city might be part of what they might be able to do. This few points for the city, few points for the county, maybe. So we can start assembling all that, you know, getting all that information, and that could be the public engagement piece of this whole thing that Council Member Scipio was very hard pushing. So we can definitely summarize what PEA said in this last meeting, and also their focus group that they have going. So that could be the information from the public.
Yeah.
Next
Also,
thing we do is coming
sorry.
with a vision. Sorry, just a vision and a plan and a prioritization kind of matrix from the cities. And
so yeah, to that point, the city council did just finish up and wrap up their strategic planning effort, which is a shorter term 4-year type of envisioning plan that they work on every 4 years, like I said. And so if you look through that, that's available on the city's website too, but I'm happy to send that out in an email. That is where they do lay out all of their priorities for the next 4 years. There are priorities that relate to sustainability. I think they call it sustainability. It may be under environmental or something like that, but that's a good place to start if you're looking for already identified priorities that these council members have agreed on, because that's generally what we do work on. And then I know that our planning department is going to be starting the update to the new comprehensive plan. And we are going to be, meaning the Office of Sustainability, has already been contacted. So we're definitely going to be a part of that as well. So that'll be another place to look for. But that's a little bit further down the road, and will include a lot of public engagement. Actually, our planning department is very good at including organizations, community organizations, in that. So I imagine that, you know, we can also utilize some of that feedback for anything that this committee wants to do too. If there are, as I imagine there will be, comments around the stuff that apply to this group. And I also do want to shout out Christy for coming to that last council meeting. And you know, I know that there were only a few people there, and those meetings are still, they tend to be a little bit lighter on attendance, I think, because of some of the COVID stuff still sort of lingering, but it was great to see that support, and I appreciate you speaking. I know it didn't turn out the way we expected, and I'm sure you had to change some of your comments at the last minute, but yeah, great start at having folks show up and voice their support. It was really actually, I thought, powerful to have the last 3 people speaking there all talk to the resolution. So thank you, Christy.
Oh, thanks for saying that. I was happy to be there. I'm glad I could make it work. And despite the fact that there was like a lower turnout, I know that there was quite a few folks writing in about the resolution, and we've gotten really positive feedback from what I've heard. So I'm really hopeful about how that'll go. I'm excited for next week. I did have a question. And I'm new to this committee, so please stop me if this has been answered. But the bipartisan infrastructure bill provided quite a bit of investment across all the states. And I was curious about how much we got in Winston-Salem, how much money, what the plan is to use that money, how quickly the plan is to use that money. I would love a little bit of information about that if you have that available.
Yeah, we don't know yet. So there's a formula somewhere that somebody has that will identify how much money goes where in terms of like each state, and I think then each municipality or I'm not sure how they're going to break it up by state, honestly. Those grant opportunities are not yet like available for applications. We're definitely keeping our eye on it, especially around EV charging stuff. That's what my office will be looking at. I know that there are some other departments who are keeping an eye on that funding as well for various infrastructure upgrades and whatnot. But we are doing our best to track those opportunities down the line whenever that may be. I think I read somewhere like a fall 2022 we'll have more details. So still a few months away, but
Hey, Helen and Christy.
Amber.
Hey.
Hey, I'm glad you're on the call. Good to hear you.
I'm headed back from Raleigh. We were in session today, so I'm sorry guys, I can't turn my camera on right now, but the city already knows how much money they're getting. And so Christy, you should be able to call Dudley's office, and he should be able to tell you how much the city received. We let the city know, we let all of the cities and the counties know how much money they were getting in the last legislative session, so they know how much is coming, and in terms of how they're going to distribute it or how they're going to determine what projects they're choosing to fund, I think is what Helen's speaking to. But they do have their allotments.
Okay, yeah, I can also look that up. Dudley Watt is actually the county manager, and I'm sure much like the ARPA funding, they got quite a significant chunk as well. But I can ask around.
I'm sorry, you're right. Dudley is the county. The city would be, tell me who the city manager is.
Lee Garrity.
Lee Garrity. Lee should have the numbers.
Thank you, Representative. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So just looking over the basics of the plan, I mean, it breaks it down into a couple areas that they focus on: clean drinking water, legacy pollution, public transit, clean school buses, clean infrastructure, and resilience. So that's like what it was written in the major plan. Representative, do you know how much of that we need to, that is allocated? Do you have any information? I know that the grants are still coming out, but do you have any more information about specifics on how that's allocated?
No, because we don't handle that at the state level. We just push the allocations down, and then the city and the county decides how they're going to disperse those funds. We don't deal with the actual disbursement of the funds. We just make sure that the funds get to the respective municipality.
Can you explain the process a little bit more about how North Carolina advocates for how much money we get as a state, and then how it's divided up between city and county municipalities?
So for the infrastructure money, it wasn't anything that the city that they could ask for. It came with the funding, kind of how the funds were to be distributed, and that came down from the federal guidelines.
Okay.
So for the infrastructure money and the ARPA money, the feds provided the guidelines and to determine how the money was to be distributed.
Thank you. Thanks for keeping a pulse on that. There's so many things going on in Raleigh. I appreciate you having a special ear for sustainability.
Thank you.
So I had a quick question about how the big plan that you were talking about, Helen, from the city point of view works. Do you also have a interdepartmental kind of roundtable or coordination between utilities, transportation, built environment, everybody that comes together?
No.
With so then that would that not be a good idea? About
I mean, so that will happen for the comprehensive plan. That's not like an established group of people that meets regularly, though. I may have misinterpreted what you asked.
No, that was the question.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that was exactly the question, that for the comprehensive plan, there should be all these departments that have a hand in improving sustainability or resilience or carbon footprint or pollution, all those factors. And I can understand there's transportation, waste, solid water, wastewater. Everybody has a piece that they can contribute to Parks and Rec, even the bicycle infrastructure, all those people. So there should be, I guess, is that going to happen for the comprehensive plan, for the 5-year plan?
So the comprehensive plan is actually a 30-year, it's a long-term 30-year plan. I didn't clarify that at the beginning, so that's my apologies. So that's our biggest long-term comprehensive one. And then the strategic plan is just the city council identifying their priorities every 4 years. And it's just up to that group of elected officials. So we can give them suggestions, different departments can, but it's ultimately still up to city council for that strategic plan. Whereas the comprehensive plan does then consider the department's goals, what the public wants based on public engagement sessions, and just, again, by nature is much more comprehensive. And so what they don't know yet, because it is still so early on in the process, is the format. And there are different ways that cities have done this from a sustainability standpoint. So some cities have taken the approach of having an entire section dedicated to sustainability. Others have taken the approach that sustainability is what I think this is what you're suggesting, is sustainability is sort of woven into all the rest of the sections. So I mean, our planning team is looking at that and still, I think, like I said, deciding which approach will best suit our city and our process. But at this point, that hasn't been decided yet. But like I said, I can, once that develops more, I'm sure you all will be brought into the fold as well as a city board and committee. I know that PEA is on their list. They have numerous organizations, local organizations included for the outreach session. So you all will definitely be aware once that process starts. But yeah, there's just unfortunately not like a super hard timeline for that at this point. So yeah, that'll be in development.
So we do have a timeline for the resolution we passed 2 years ago, as in there were some deadlines for 2025 and 2030. our intermediate targets, and then the one was the 2050. So I'm hoping that the 5-year plan or 4-year plan that the council is considering or has passed has taken those previous resolution targets into account to see that we will, at least try to work towards it. And now it's becoming even more critical that we accelerate our efforts to get to it, because it's looking more and more unreachable. So that would be, the 4-year plan that they have. That's what I guess somebody from our sustainability committee should be looking at and seeing how it parallels the targets that they resolve to achieve. And I think what should happen is probably monies have to be allocated for such things. And that's where I think the rubber meets the road. That nothing is free. You have to, if you have a target to meet, it costs money. And where is that money? So that's where the money and personnel, and I know, Helen, it's hard for you to do it all alone. So that's where they would have to give you assistance and give you money to get these targets done.
Well, I'm not alone. It's just you gotta find your partners in the other departments. So
yeah.
All right. Does anybody else
plan? The 4-year plan, is there a copy somewhere that we could?
I'm like I said, I'm gonna send that out.
Wonderful. Okay.
Helen, do you have any connections or meetings with Duke Energy at all, or are they meeting with anyone in the city? Do we know, like?
Not our individual city, but like I said, I've said this in the past. I don't know how recently though. Our city's initiative group, so that is the group organized by the Environmental Defense Fund for municipalities across the state. We are regularly communicating with Duke. I will say a lot of it right now is focused on the carbon plan at the state level. So Duke is very much focused on that effort right now and putting together that plan. I believe that they already released their proposed plan. But yeah, and then I think that there are probably, some discussions in the budget meetings, just because the rate changes, of course, will affect the budget and, things like that. But yeah, so there are ways that our sustainability voice is being heard, but it's from that city's initiative place. There could be other conversations happening that I am just not a part of at the city, maybe from another standpoint, or trying to get headway in another area. But yeah. Was there any particular reason you asked that question?
I guess I'm just wondering, I know they have pledged something, what was it, Rajesh, by 2030, and we had, when we first started meeting, we were talking about, trying to I don't know, hold them accountable or shine a light or whatever, and it just,
yeah, I think that 2030 thing, this may be different, but I know that is it the utilities? It's not the Utilities Commission. One group, I think this may be public opinion, somebody somewhere at one point was trying to push Duke to close all of their coal power plants by 2030. And so we're finding in their carbon plans and their integrated resource plans that they've put out in the last couple of years, what they've done is provide multiple scenarios of how they could move forward. And only one of these pathways actually meets the goal of shutting down those coal power plants by 2030. However, their ultimate goal is, of course, carbon neutrality by 2050. So all of the pathways right now, I think, are still leading them that way. But it's Duke, so they're trying to do what they think is best for them still. So There may though be another, maybe like an interim carbon goal or something by 2030 that they had. I'm just not sure, beyond the coal plants.
I think they had, if I remember correctly, 50% carbon reduction by 2030. And
Yeah, I'm on their website right now. I'll post it in the chat.
yeah, and I think the way they were going to get there is exactly reducing the reliance on coal and transitioning actually to natural gas.
Yeah.
And that is, to Duke, we have to still yell and scream about that is just an intermediate transition, from coal to natural gas, but even natural gas is a fossil fuel. So eventually they have to look beyond natural gas as well. But that was their intermediate target, I think.
Yeah, that's what I just posted in the chat. It says, our country is at a critical point in addressing the impact of climate change. At Duke Energy, we're taking bold action to address this challenge while continuing to deliver affordable, reliable, and increasingly clean energy. We've set ambitious climate goals for our company, striving towards at least 50% reduction in CO2 emissions from electricity generation in 2030 on the way to net zero CO2 by 2050. We're also targeting net zero methane emissions for our natural gas distribution business by 2030. I mean, it's 2022.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
I think they're probably 7 or 8% reduction already, but there are ways to go. And they do have a couple of programs, one for residential, the Renewable Advantage program. And I used to get all my carbon neutral power for my house from Arcadia. But last 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, when Duke came out with this program, I transitioned to the Renewable Advantage program. So basically, I pay 10 to 12% more in power bills to Duke, and they will give me, or they do give me, a renewable energy credit saying my power is coming from solar and wind. So I guess as individuals and as partners to the city, we can all force Duke to transition by subsidizing all this. But yeah, it is finally up to the legislature to force Duke to transition faster.
Can I segue to just a more logistic conversation? I think this one is so important with Duke. I mean, that is immensely important, and I'd love to continue on action items on that. Can you share about how the committees work? We talked about some committees and some subcommittees at our last meeting, and we opened a few more, and I didn't receive any emails this past month. So I don't know if Helen, are you in charge of the subcommittees? Are the people that are, how does that work as far as go ahead.
Yeah. Great question. So all of the subcommittees that have been created by this committee are all ad hoc in nature. So that just means they're all short term and will end once the members of that subcommittee feel like they've met their goals, or something else. Like I'm actually glad you brought this up, since Stephanie, the last member of the recycling subcommittee, has stepped down. That subcommittee just we should probably vote to close it officially, but like that one just doesn't, there's no one there anymore. But in terms of the leadership roles, that is not me. That is somebody we can, if folks find that it's useful to identify a chairperson of a subcommittee, we can start doing that. Otherwise, in the past, it's generally just been up to the subcommittee members to connect and set up a time to meet. You all can choose to meet whenever is best for your schedule, so you don't have to meet, at this 5 o'clock time or something like that. So as long as I am included in that meeting, just because, again, as the staff support to the full committee, I'm also staff support to the subcommittees. But essentially, that's the logistics. Let me know if I forgot any of your questions that you needed answered, but that's to start anyways.
What's the maximum amount of people that can be on a call?
another great question. As long as we have fewer than quorum, then it's allowed to be a subcommittee. So it just can't have 5 people. 5 people would be too many. And then at that point, it might as well be something that like the full committee discusses anyways, I think is also sort of the point. So both that, and then of course, avoid any open meeting rule violations. So ideally subcommittees would have 2 to 4 people on them for this group, or yeah, 2 to 4, sorry.
Yeah, I
I
appreciate it.
really
Christy,
struggled with that math for a second.
I'm glad, Christy, that you're trying to formalize the subcommittees, because in the past we had a very informal way of doing things. So many times I would write up some stuff and circulate to Helen and a couple more people saying, guys, do you have any ideas? Do you have any input? Should I bring this to the full committee? Can we talk about this? And that's how things were working, and same with the jobs and equity and everything. But we did not have a formal way or formal time to meet. And I think maybe that's a good evolution, maybe having a formal, even if it's half an hour every month or whatever, just to get some action items and put some plan or something in place. So I like that. And
I like both. I think that there doesn't have to be one way forward. I mean, if there's some things that are pressing and that you're noticing, I mean, like hearing about that PEA roundtable, I would love a fuller update on that, Rajesh. Like
we
that
will get it.
would be lovely to send out what was discussed, who was present, what are some action items. I think that would be wonderful informally to come in, and then maybe to also introduce, some more formal subcommittees. But I think there can be multiple approaches to the same goal. And the more we're meeting and talking about it, I think the more likely we are to move to action.
Definitely.
And I'll clarify. So I said that the subcommittees that we've created up until now have been ad hoc. However, you all do have the option to create a more formal subcommittee. And what that would just do is make that an official subcommittee that continues on whether members roll off or not. So, for instance, I'll use the recycling one. If that one was created initially formally, even though the members are gone, that is still a committee that exists, or a subcommittee that exists, for people to be on and discuss recycling for. When they did first start, I will say that subcommittee established a regular meeting time to talk among the members. So, that they did do that, but like you said, Rajesh, others were a little bit more informal. So yeah, I think Christy's right. Both have worked for us, I think, up until now. So however you guys want to move forward.
Helen, is there any way that you could email out to our full committee, all of the subcommittees and the members, as far as you're aware, that are on each of them? That would be so helpful.
Yes.
And then maybe at our next meeting, we can talk about ones that we would like to continue and ones that maybe it's time to close.
Yeah.
I think once we have full membership and a chair, it'll be a lot easier to organize,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point too, Leah, because that's 3 more members and a chair that would be added. I will also say
change the numbers, right? The quorum numbers.
Yeah, so
Good
quorum,
point.
once we have a full 11, would be 6 folks. So then the subcommittee could have up to 5 people. I'll also add, because I'm realizing now that Kira was also sort of the last official member of that tree canopy subcommittee. So I know that there was maybe a little more interest from the group the last meeting. So why don't we take these last few minutes? If you guys are comfortable, we can choose to not vote on that tree subcommittee, but I'll go ahead and say, make a motion that we officially end the recycling subcommittee.
I second that.
Okay, and so we'll go around and I'll call on folks, and again, yay or nay. So Rajesh.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, Christy.
Yeah.
Amber, if you're able to. Okay, Lee.
Yeah.
Jordan.
Okay.
All right, so that's one fewer subcommittee now. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to rush you guys into anything on that tree subcommittee.
Well, part of the tree subcommittee thing was that I think, either had done or like wanted to do a study of tree canopy in Winston-Salem. I do think this is really important. And like, I think it's compelling, important stuff for us. I've since learned that there actually already is like a study of Winston-Salem's tree canopy that exists, and we can tap into that. And I mean, I'm on the Green Jobs and Environmental Justice Subcommittee, which I also feel really strongly about. But I do think that tree canopy is something that's important. And I don't know the ins and outs of where we could apply pressure with, city code or whatever. But I think, at least the least we could do is sort of publicize. I would be happy to spend some time like making a shareable report that's like, here's Winston-Salem's tree canopy, like here's other cities' tree canopy, like here's what regular citizens can do.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll add, that is absolutely an option for this committee. So even if that subcommittee goes away, of course, obviously the full committee can still discuss that tree canopy work. But if you all did want to do, for instance, what Leah is saying, that is an option where that can then be presented to city council and put on our website and made more public. And so that's just called an information item. It's not anything that gets voted on or brought to a city council meeting, but it does allow us as staff and as committees to report out important things, like what that report might find. So if you do decide, that's an option that you do have. And then I can help you all bring it through those processes again.
I'm definitely interested in seeing that, Leah. And I don't know if it's just one snapshot or if it's a trend of several snapshots over the years, but I would definitely like to see it because it's right here in my neighborhood. I know canopy is going down. So once we have the trend, then we propose a change, I guess, to plant more trees or to improve the canopy cover. I was on the climate and energy, and then the transportation, and I feel strongly about those two still. It's just that we don't have enough people to kind of keep the work going. But as soon as we have people, I'd be happy to start convening some sessions again. Do we know if there are any applications pending for approval, Helen, for the chair? Or
sure there are. And Kira has offered that if we need to help fill some seats, that she can connect us to maybe some folks in her ward. And I know that there are some university folks we can connect with. So I will say that I'm just not involved in that process. So I don't know. I can do my best to find out, but because a lot of the seats first terms ended just last month, I imagine that we'll hear something soon. I will say that, with city council, they take a hiatus for the month of July. So that may slow down some of the appointments because there are no meetings then. So we may still be low for the August meeting, depending on, what the mayor's office is able to put together for this month of June. But I'll see. I know that PEA has done a great job at getting the word out and seeking applicants. So, that helps us, I think.
Helen, which seats do we have that are open right now? Which
we have actually 2 university or local college representative seats. So that can be, beyond Wake and Winston-Salem State, there's Salem, of course, for Scythe Tech, even Carolina University. It could be really any of them.
Okay.
So 2 of those seats are open. So we really do need to fill those. And then the Northeast Ward, which was Kira's position, is now open. And then I know that we have interest from, and I think the South Ward is covered. And then Rajesh, you're seeking reappointment, I know, so the West Ward is covered. And then Lee is also seeking reappointment, so that ward is covered. So really just the one ward is the Northeast Ward, but those 2 university seats and then the chairperson. So those 3 seats, those applicants can live in any ward of the city. They have a little bit more flexibility with that as long as they are city residents.
And 2 of the university people had contacted me, were not city residents, but they were very interested in joining.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And I'll also keep you guys updated if there are changes. So once people get appointed or filled in any of these seats, I'll let you know. So there aren't some of you still out there searching for people we may not have room for anymore. So yeah, I'll see what I can find out there.
That'd be great.
And about the roundtable, I will request PEA. I'm no longer on their board after 6 years, but Leah, if you are active over there, so you can also make a request. I will send a request out this afternoon to PEA for that, a summary of what was discussed. And I know there was a lot of writing on big pieces of, yeah, so like to see that, what came out of it.
Yeah, as many partnerships as we can form. Oh, I'm sorry, Representative, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, is there anyone that has a connection with Power Up NC? They might be another partner that we can bring on board, but also they may be in touch with someone that can fill those 3 positions that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's a great point, Amber. Actually, there's Robert Leake is on the Keep Winston-Salem Beautiful board, so I can connect with him and see if he has any recommendations. I know that he is very active, so I don't know that, I'll see if he's interested, but I don't want to stretch him too thin, of course. But
He's also
yes.
on the PEA board.
Right, I know that, like I said, he's very active already, so I don't want to stretch anybody too thin.
You know, not the only person in that organization, so I wasn't
Right.
suggesting that we tap him, but he may be able to connect some folks from that organization that may have a little more time in their schedule.
Right, yes, that's the plan.
Okay.
All right. Well, just for the sake of time, we're at 6 p.m. We had a lighter agenda, so we got some good discussion in today. It's good to have quorum. I will send out everything I said I would send out. And if you guys have any questions in the meantime, or questions about what does get sent out, like the strategic plan or whatever that is, just let me know. And then I will see you all again in August, if not before then, for any subcommittee meetings or, whatever there may be. So.
Ellen, is the chance of us meeting in person fairly high for our August meeting?
So I honestly have no idea. It really, so it depends. The reason we're still meeting in person is because we are still in a state of emergency. And so that's really what we're waiting to see is lifted. So once that's lifted, we will be able to meet in person again. But I'll keep you guys updated about the status of that as well. I know that I've already a couple of times they've said we're good to go and we weren't. So yeah.
Are the rules, city council is meeting in person, that we were able to attend that meeting, but the committees aren't allowed to meet in person?
Yeah. Yeah.
That seems incongruous.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is also just very convenient for a lot of folks too. So I know that it helps, and it's a little more challenging to figure out the hybrid. So, some in person while some people are virtual, that's a little more logistically difficult. But yeah, I have no idea about when that might end, because every time I think it's soon, it's not actually soon. So.
Yeah, I agree that it's convenient. Also, as someone who's involved with so many organizations, as I'm sure most of us are, the discussion that happens, prior to the meeting and after the meeting are sometimes some of the really, really valuable. And I miss that part. Maybe we could go to a every other month in person versus online, or figure out some hybrid solution. I think this is something that so much of America is figuring out right now. I'm sure we can find a solution.
It is being talked about because a lot of committee members, like council members as well, have given feedback that they want to be able to continue virtual, because once we are given the okay to go back in person, it's going to be in person, and there is no more virtual that's allowed. So, there's pros and cons to both. But yeah, that's not something that the city, unfortunately, right now is able to decide for themselves at this point. I believe it's a lot of discussion with state representatives as well, but yeah, I'll keep you updated with whatever the status change may be.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, all right. So anybody motion to adjourn?
Okay, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time this evening.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, thanks.